Thank you for listening to the Ask Annie Show. This is Annie Roth, your real estate specialist with Beam Real Estate and Beam Mortgage, NMLS number 336327. Every Saturday, right here on KGGR 1040 AM from 2:15 to 2:30 p.m., the Ask Annie Show is sharing valuable information to assist you in buying, selling, financing, and refinancing real estate, whether it's residential, commercial, or special use. On the Ask Annie Show, we also discuss foreclosure prevention, credit improvement, and down payment assistance. If you have any questions or concerns, you may reach me immediately after the show at 214-347-3107. Again, the number is 214-347-3107. If you're outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth calling area, dial 1-855-54-ANNIE. That's 1-855-54-ANNIE. Or visit my website at www.askanniefirst.com, www.askanniefirst.com. Selling your home in distressed situations. That's what we are covering on the show today with Tony Andrade with Tony Buys Texas Homes. So go ahead and call, text, and email your friends and family and tell them to turn to the Ask Annie Show on KGGR 1040 AM to find out about this particular option to preventing foreclosure. Tony, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Okay, well, Tony Andrade, for everyone who is listening, is a property investor who buys underwater properties, and by doing so has helped hundreds of homeowners prevent foreclosure. Tell us about yourself and how do you help people prevent foreclosure?
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me today. My name is Tony Andrade, and I've been investing in real estate since about 2009. At that time, my investment focus has really been exclusively short sales, and that's because I feel like I can have the biggest impact on sellers that I buy from. Rather than just buying, selling properties, I've actually been able to help many, many homeowners avoid foreclosure. Very rewarding for me over the last several years. So that's really kind of my investment focus, is short sales in properties that are headed toward foreclosure.
Okay, well, that's good. Tell me, you say that you're able to stop foreclosure. How do you accomplish that?
Well, many of the homeowners I work with have missed mortgage payments or foresee themselves having to miss mortgage payments in the future, and that's due to many circumstances and situations. What I'm able to do is contact their lenders and negotiate, again, what's called a short sale, and this allows me to purchase property at market value. Their mortgage is paid off, and they can move on from the property.
So a homeowner doesn't necessarily have to be in foreclosure for you to be able to help them out?
That's correct. If a homeowner wants to sell a property, but they owe more than the property is worth, sometimes they call that, you'll hear the terms underwater or upside down. So if somebody's upside down or underwater on their property, I can actually still buy that property by requesting a short sale. And many homeowners don't realize that there's a lot of options available to them when they want to sell, even though they may be in that situation where they're, again, upside down.
So what exactly is a short sale?
Well, in a short sale, a lender agrees to accept a mortgage payoff that is about equal to the current value of the property. If somebody took out a loan for, let's say, $200,000, 3 or 4 years ago, but the property is now only worth $100,000, well, the lender realizes that that they're not going to be able to get more than that $100,000. So that they accept that, and they accept the fact that they're going to need to accept a payoff at that level, and that's of course short of what is actually owed on the mortgage. But once the lender accepts that payoff amount, and the property is sold, they can no longer pursue foreclosure because the mortgage is paid in full.
Now, does a lender always allow a short sale?
Well, each lender has their own specific guidelines for accepting a short payoff, and these guidelines are always changing. But a typical candidate for a short sale has a delinquent payment, they've missed a payment, or they foresee themselves having to miss a payment in the future due to whatever kind of circumstances they may be facing, whether it be job loss or there's something else going on in the family. Another thing that, lenders look at is a hardship. They want to see a hardship, divorce, again, job loss, medical bills, maybe a reduction in your paycheck, new child care expenses. That's another thing that, banks want to see is a hardship. And third, they do not want to see that the seller has any major assets or large bank accounts. So if they have large bank accounts or major assets, then the lender may actually ask the homeowner to contribute to that debt in the short sale, but they may still actually allow the short sale. So that it is still an option, even in those circumstances.
You're listening to the Ask Annie Show on KGGR 1040 AM every Saturday from 2:15 to 2:30 p.m. If you have any real estate questions or concerns, you may reach me, Annie Roth, immediately after the show at 214-347-3107. If you're outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth calling area, dial 1-855-54-ANNIE, ANNIE, or visit my website at www.askanniefirst.com, ASKANNIEFIRST.com. So how long do short sales take?
Well, negotiations with the bank for a short sale generally take anywhere from about 1 to 6 months. Many of these banks negotiators are actually flooded with short sale files from across the country, but me and my team were very diligent about our negotiations, and we get to the bank as quickly as possible. But the banks are overly busy with these requests. So of course, the benefit to the homeowners is during this period they've got time to find new housing and make any other arrangements so that the process is smooth. Once that short sale is accepted, they've already got a new place to live and a new they're ready to move on.
Now, Tony, a lot of people are not wanting to do a short sale. They want to keep their home. What are the alternatives to a short sale?
Yes, that's a good question, and there are alternatives to a short sale. In fact, I always urge homeowners who contact me to try to modify their loan first, and that is unless they're unemployed. That kind of loan modifications don't generally work out in an unemployment situation, but some banks will allow homeowners to modify their loan and to get a better monthly payment, something that works better. If the homeowner is employed and hasn't had any major changes in income, still wants to keep the house, I always strongly urge them to request a loan modification. On the flip side, if the homeowner does not want their underwater property, or they've recently had a loan modification fail or bankruptcy dismissed, they are strong candidates for a short sale.
Now, what about the credit? Are there any benefits of a short sale versus foreclosure on the credit?
Good question, and yes, there are quite a few, not only to credit, but other things as well. Credit drops dramatically from a foreclosure. In fact, I can't even tell you how many points it drops, but it is dramatic. And of course, that foreclosure sits on your credit record forever. It's permanent. So that foreclosure is always going to be there. You're always going to have to let the lender know next time you apply for a mortgage in the future that you did allow a property to go into foreclosure, where a short sale will not do that. It may be a small ding on your credit based on the payments that you've already missed, if you have missed some, but that's not going to be a permanent. That's not going to have a permanent effect on your credit record. Some other benefits are actually lower tax liability. Banks generally tend to net more on a short sale than they do on a foreclosure. So when it comes to tax time, that's a big benefit. You want to. Any listeners out there want to talk to their tax professional about those benefits. Another benefit of a short sale versus a foreclosure is background check. A lot of employees do background checks on individuals, and foreclosure will show up on those kind of background checks, which is kind of a negative there. And quicker credit recovery as far as short sale versus foreclosure. Somewhere down the road, you want to buy a new car, and you want to finance that car, or maybe your child is getting ready to go to college and needs a co-signer for his or her loan. Well, that's going to be a lot easier to do, without a foreclosure on your record. Those are just a few of the benefits, but there are many.
You're listening to the Ask Annie Show on KGGR 1040 AM every Saturday from 2:15 to 2:30 p.m. If you have any real estate questions or concerns, you may reach me, Annie Roth, immediately after the show at 214-347-3107. If you're outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth calling area, dial 1-855-54-ANNIE, ANNIE, or visit my website at www.askanniefirst.com, ASKANNIEFIRST.com. Well, Tony, tell me, what is the benefit of a listener who is listening to you today and working with you than with someone else? What are you offering?
Good question. And the benefit, not only do I have several years of experience with short sales, like I said, I've worked with short sales exclusively since 2009. So, I really know backwards and forwards. But in addition, I make offers to the bank immediately. So we get things started right away with the bank. There's no waiting, there's no listing and waiting to see if there is a buyer for your property. Especially, that's a benefit, especially if foreclosure is kind of right around the corner. It's got a month, 2 months. You really want to get started. You really want to get that ball rolling, and that's exactly what we do. Also, I've got an incredibly strong team behind me, and we're very easy to get in touch with. In fact, I got my personal phone number, which I'll give the listeners later. And, we work hard to make that sale happen quickly.
Okay, Tony, let me ask you this. In what situations do you assist someone? I know you said distress situations. Can we cover that a little bit? What are some of the distress situations that it would be good for them to contact you in?
Okay, well, so maybe the individual has lost a job and they don't foresee themselves being able to make their mortgage payment, or maybe they've already missed the mortgage payment. Medical records are another one. Medical expenses. That's another hardship that sometimes medical expenses come and you just don't expect them, and the economy being the way it is, it's kind of tough to recover from those, especially without insurance. Deaths in the family, is another, of a spouse, is another situation that it's just so heartbreaking when it also brings one to have to consider selling a property because they can't pay that part of the mortgage anymore. But that's another situation that we've been able to help individuals out of. And finally, divorce. Divorce is another situation where parties cannot afford to pay the mortgage, or they don't want to pay the mortgage together any longer. We're able to get a sale taken care of for in those situations as well.
Okay, now Tony, here's the $1 million question. I know everyone wants to know, how much do you charge for your services?
That's a good question. I charge absolutely nothing. Homeowners never pay a penny, never a cent. As an investor, I make my money by buying and selling properties and not by collecting any money from any fees or anything like that. I buy properties and I resell them, and that's how I make my money, and that's how I'm able to keep going in this business. So the short answer is absolutely nothing, no cost.
Well, that sounds good. It seems like that this is another good options for the listeners who are out here listening to us on the radio show, on the Ask Annie show. Tell the listeners, Tony, how can they reach you?
Sure. Okay. Well, like I mentioned earlier, my personal phone number is 512-200-3011. Again, that's 512-200-3011. And also, you can learn more about me on my website, and that's TonyBuysTexas.com. Again, that's TonyBuysTexas.com. There's more about me and kind of learn more about what kind of services I provide, and you can also get my email address and more contact information there.
Well, Tony, again, we have run out of time. It's so much valuable information, and the time just goes so quickly. There's a vast amount of information, and I encourage the listeners to go to your website, to take your number, or either they could give me a call at 214-347-3107. I'm Annie Roth, and I can get you in contact with Tony if you missed his telephone number. And if you're outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth calling area, just dial 1-855-54-ANNIE. That's ANNIE, or visit my website at www.askanniefirst.com. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward for you joining us again on next week.